Yarvin is very realistic in this way. Like
Yeah.
part of the reason why he wants a corporate monarchy basically is because he sees that as basically the only realistic form of a reactionary government in modernity. And he might be right about that. I think in completing this process, we really need to transition more into a pre-political mode. The
Hmm.
dissident right, so called, has been very political for the last several years. But if you read, I guess like Leviathan would be another book I would recommend by Thomas Hobbes, and it might confuse people to recommend like a liberal text. But you know, Hobbes is extremely important because he describes the nature of commonwealths very, very completely. And one of the things you can understand from Hobbes is that in order to have a body politic and form a commonwealth, you actually have to have an organic body first, which is not something we have. We don't actually have a real culture on the right. We sort of just have these disconnected, atomized nodes who sort of talk on the internet. If we want to actually achieve a new political society that is suitable to us, we actually need to form a nation first. We need to achieve what's called ethnogenesis and create a body of people who even has any interest in becoming a politically sovereign entity and formalizing certain relationships, right? So I think politics, and this is also a very neo-reactionary idea that Yarvin gets into. I think politics, as we normally think of it, is really something that we're not equipped to operate in right now. I know a
Hmm.
lot of people on the dissident right are still very much into trying to get certain candidates elected in the GOP at local levels or even congressional levels. Maybe there's some use in that. But I think our real goal in what we're doing is actually to define and instantiate a real living culture. And this is going to involve potentially moving and living amongst each other and forming and doing commerce with each other, even marriages, right? Like this is how nations actually form. They don't form by legislation. They form by real human activity that actually can create a recognizable ethnicity that can assert a right to govern itself. And we don't even have that yet, right? And this is a huge problem that we don't really have any historical precedent for, right? We live our our sphere of people is distributed across the entire globe, across many countries. There's more people on the planet than there ever been before. We're more globally integrated and automated and subjugated than people have ever been before. There's really no precedent for this, and this is why I'm very committed to original thought and not being tied to anything particular in the past, which is something righties tend to do too often, right? To like take a look at my avatar, right? Obviously, you can respect monarchies and of medieval Europe and respect your traditions. I'm not saying that we need to discard with them, but we need to be thinking purely in terms of our own future and how we're actually going to achieve um, ethnogenesis, right? Because there is no American ethnicity that we can that is coherent, right? America almost formed, I think, its own coherent ethnicity um, before the war between the states, right? But that was sort of shut down, and Americans were sort of permanently kept in a state of just all these mixed cultures, right? You have WASPs and Catholics and Germans and Italians, and we've never really gotten the chance, I think, to actually to create a real recognizable American ethnicity that's actually homogenous. And I think that's really the only path to actually establishing any sort of political power is to first have the ethnicity or nation that can actually assert it.